Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. I have been desperate to come and have this conversation with you all day. It has been a crazy day here in Western Australia. As a small business owner, there is a lot of fear and anxiety building in our state in Australia. And it's because we know that a winter is coming. So we have been isolated with very little COVID cases for the past almost 2 years, ever since our initial exposure and cases back in 2020. We have been really kind of cut off from the rest of the country and the world and have experienced very little COVID and just a few little restrictions and lockdowns here and there. But we're preparing to open our borders and have COVID run through our state for the first time, really, since all of this has happened. And that means that there's going to be a period of more limited contact with people in person. And even though it's the middle of summer, we know that we can feel that there's a winter coming, and maybe people are not really explicit about that or using those words, and there's just this deep discomfort and uncertainty of not knowing what kind of restrictions and what kind of hardships and illness is coming our way. But the reality is that is coming our way. Restrictions for moving around physically in the state, as well as illnesses are now upon us. And without really realizing that and accepting that it has been building so much anxiety and overwhelm. There is a lot of fear here in Western Australia and has been for the past 4 weeks as the restrictions have started to slowly come in. And now there are also pretty heavy restrictions on unvaccinated people, preventing them from moving around freely and attending businesses. And that's a mandate coming from our government. But beyond this winter period of potentially more hardship and more isolation, the actual biggest threat and problem that is ripping through our community is the division and side cherishing from a lot of people that makes the whole landscape of our community incredibly unsettled, scary, divisive. It's very hard to show up. And that's a big problem, because with everything going on, we actually need to show up better than ever, more clear than ever. And we actually need to tune in and listen in to others and to ourselves more than ever. And those capacities have been devastated. So there's basically no listening, no feeling, and no thinking going on, because it's way too much, because it's way too scary to have all of your loved ones and your community pitted against each other and potentially against you. So I'm here today to share a little bit about that, but also to offer a couple of public service announcements in regards to my own vaccination status and what is going to be happening at the studio, as well as, our point of view, my point of view, and the stances that we're taking and the operations that we're putting in place. So let's start with my vaccination status, which is something that I have been reluctant to share, and it's only really obvious now, as much as I try to stay informed, and I'm always looking at information from all sides and really getting into the heads and the science and the narratives that are strongly being devised at the moment. I haven't really felt into how much fear there is in the population about unvaccinated people. So that's really coming to light now. So I am unvaccinated, and I don't know when or if I will be vaccinated, although I currently can imagine that it will be as soon as possible. And the reason that I'm not vaccinated is due to a very unique and complicated personal circumstance that I have. And there are so many other people who have incredibly valid, what anyone listening, most people who, if they were to listen to them, even very pro-vaxxer, anti-choice people, would listen to those reasons and say, well, that sounds legitimate. And I know so many people with really legitimate personal health, work, family, pregnancy, blood, who knows, related concerns. It may even be ideological, that are not vaccinated. Like myself, I have a reason, and now I am being publicly labeled as of January 31st, or I can jump the gun a little bit and do that for everyone now. But now I'm going to be publicly labeled with a very stigmatized label, because the head of our government has been expressing that unvaccinated people are selfish and are dropkicks, basically, and are incredibly harmful for the community. I'm sure those of you listening can imagine that if I did believe that, I would be doing everything in my power to get vaccinated as quickly as possible. However, there is so much valid information in the opposite narrative that it seems crazy to me to only believe in one of them. I personally believe that vaccinations can help us navigate the pandemic and can help us as a population. I also believe that they may be harmful to the population as well, and that there may be side effects and loss of immunity, which we are already seeing in some places. Like there are, I believe in both sides of the narrative. You can hold them, you can believe them both to be true if you want to remain equanimous and respectful of both sides. That's my main priority, is to stay open to what might be true of any side and to remain respectful so that there can be a safe space for us to navigate the real challenges that are present. And I know when it comes to your own health and that you may, get sick with a virus and die, that is a huge problem. I understand that. And although I have that fear, it's not an overwhelming fear for me. So I understand that people have different emphases on the things that are most important for them. So my emphases are different from someone who believes, that the only way for them to stay alive and get through this is if everyone gets vaccinated. So I get that there are a lot of different sides present here. But what I really want to say here now today, what's really important for me to share is that powerful narratives exist on both sides that are more than likely both correct. As I've looked at the different sides and some of these really evidently true pieces, as closely true as possible from both sides, I've held them both and I've saying, okay, these can both exist. It makes sense that they both exist, otherwise both sides wouldn't exist. Because although there's only a very small portion of our population unvaccinated, there is a huge portion of our population that doesn't believe that vaccination is the only way and that there should be strong messages of division, bullying to one side or the other from anyone. So as we navigate this winter coming up, remember the winter is not the the winter will pass. The situations that happen in the winter regarding disease and illness and isolation and restrictions, all of that will pass. But we are creating a legacy of disconnection and division and our own personal trauma being fed into our relationships and our wider global and local and community relationships. Because there are the people that we're fighting against are our loved ones. They're in our family. They're our beloved people in our lives, our dear ones that might hold a different view to you, and they might be resenting you. What are you going to do about that? Well, if you're resenting them, then you deserve that resentment in return. It's in fair exchange, but maybe we can start to listen more. The craziest thing is that everyone thinks everyone else is divisive and that their side is unifying. Like, this is a war. It's actually a war going on in our own homes and in our community and in our businesses. And if you're listening to this right now, you can fight this war. You can take higher ground and see what's happening and hold a different space. So this podcast is actually an introduction to a series that I've been wanting to share about how to hold that more neutral space for yourself and for others. Like, obviously I'm passionate. I've got my own side right now, the side of everyone should be less divisive and looking more carefully and doing more inner work. I've got a side. I'm speaking really passionately about it. I'm very careful all the time, or always checking in to be careful that I'm not speaking from my own pain and that I'm as clear as possible. So we all have sides, but it's still powerful to be able to hold a neutrality without checking out, because a lot of people I see can hold some neutrality, but they are totally checked out of the conversation. And then if that's what you need to do for your mental health, then that's what you do for your mental health, and you're indirectly contributing to the benefit of the community, but you're not directly contributing, and we need a lot of help right now. So yeah, a couple of episodes coming up just to unpack some of the painful elements about what is happening and how to give a bit of a bird's eye view, giving you the ingredients basically that have allowed me to be sitting here as we are about to step into like this man-made winter, and I'm feeling really good, feeling really relaxed. I'm feeling like everything that happens, and so much crazy shit is happening, but as everything is happening, it's just making me feel more centered. Like, it's bringing me back again and again as more and more things go down, and I'm looking at how I feel, and I'm feeling clear and super grounded and super connected and really open-hearted, and even more desire to listen and care without fawning, and willing to say, speak my truth to people, really directly, but knowing that it's because my heart is open. That all feels really good. It feels like no matter what's happening, it's showing me that nothing, like even as really, my worst nightmares are realized, okay, I'm going to be segregated from my community, one of the only teachers that can't teach at the studio, out of no fault of my own. It's not even a personal choice not to be vaccinated. And even if it was, I'm sure I would have very good reasons. So, that's kind of like a worst fear realized in some sense, or one thing that, I very much hope not to be the case, and everything's fine and I feel really good. So I want to give you the ingredients that are supporting me to navigate this and are supporting me to support so many people. And it is an absolute privilege for me to sit in this position. I feel blessed and really happy that I can sit here, do this work, and offer this medicine. So I'm not here to go into the facts about how unvaccinated people are or are not a threat to the community, because, like I said, there is so much substantial evidence on both sides. I do have a personal stance currently that we should have choice and that there should not be mandates put on this small portion of society to be vaccinated in order to have the same rights. Things like access to healthcare and, of course, access to other services in the community, and the strain that gets put on businesses and the huge division in the community. I strongly believe currently that choice would be at least slightly a better option. It's not doing good things for the community. And before these mandates have been put in place, there's been really strong messaging to divide the community into vaccinated and unvaccinated people. And that has been really painful. So I stand against that. So I do have a pro-choice stance. But other than that, I can definitely see both sides. I know a lot of people are anti-choice, and I get that as well. 100% get that. So I know, what I'm saying is, one of the hardest things for a business owner right now and someone who has to enforce these mandates, which I do at the studio, is that the community is so polarized that it's for sure just by operating, no matter what way you operate, you're going to be strongly offending a group of people. That's a really scary place to be as a business owner, as a family member, like to be making choices and you're ostracized and you feel like some people are going to not understand and really, really resent you for it. That, and people say, I understand, but, this is how I feel. Wrong use of words, because if there was a deep understanding, there wouldn't be such a deep judgment as well. So I don't think that they go together. So I will be taking a break from teaching at the studio in February, as will Aurora, our incredible Pilates teacher, although I'll see if she can do some online classes for us. So I'll be teaching some live stream classes, and I'll also be teaching one outdoor class per week as well for the unvaccinated, beautiful people in our community that will now be restricted from attending in studio. And even that, I understand all of these things are in place. They're kind of expected. I'm not too worried about any of these things. Like I said, it's a winter. Okay, there's some restrictions. There's potentially some reason to believe that it would be better to not have unvaccinated people in the studio with us. Fine. That none of these things are the biggest issue for me. The biggest issue is the pain that everyone is feeling. And as we come out of this winter, some people, we're all going to get out to the other side of this. But some people are going to end up stronger. Some people are going to listen to themselves, take the opportunities, open their eyes, connect to each other, connect to their own pain, and work through it so that they can be connected to the community more. And a lot of people are going to end up worse off. And that's because so many of us, and I definitely believe the collective, are in a negative spiral. A long time ago, if not hundreds of years ago, our society tipped from, okay, lots of bad things, okay, lots of good things, but overall as a society, we were getting stronger and more resilient. And now as a society, there are great things out there, but overall, we are declining. We are getting more disconnected, more fearful, more sick, more unhappy, a lower quality of life, less resilient, more fear, less rationality, less openness. And I know people have spoken about this in one of the episodes a little while back. I'll see if we can remember which one and link it in the show notes, where I was speaking about the difference between the upward spiral. And even though in my life there are so many tragic moments, painful moments as well, overall, I'm getting more resilient and more healthy and more happy, more connected, more grounded, more trusting. Like, I trust that no matter what happens, the things that matter the most to me will always be available and intact. And that's the upward spiral, that even though there's bad things a little bit all the time, it's getting better. And I know where so many people are stuck in that downward spiral. I mean, even in the yoga community, and especially in the yoga community, because I know it so well, I can see like, okay, we've got a bit of practice, we got a bit of joy, we got a bit of an insight, but you're not getting better overall. If you haven't listened to that free workshop on complex trauma, I highly recommend it. So go to functionalspirituality.com and just find a link to that free workshop. That might offer a bit more support. And definitely this series coming up, I've got a couple of episodes just unpacking a bit about this negative spiral, why you might not be able to be living with an open heart. You got to know what the risks are of that, and you got to know what the opportunities are in order to navigate this in a way that feels beautiful, functional, and makes you feel proud of where you are. So I hope I can support you on moving more along this upward spiral. Very happy to receive your feedback. I am reluctant in some ways to say the things I'm saying because I've, repeatedly had my communications reflected back to me. Only hearing a very, very, very strong COVID stance kind of coming back. So actually, before if I was speaking to anyone that was having difficulties, before I would go and have this 20-minute spiel of what I think, normally what would be more appropriate would be to have a 20-minute, half an hour, 1 hour conversation to unpack what's going on for them. Because the problem I'm seeing right now is that everyone has so much unprocessed information that they've been fed about whatever dominant narrative they've adopted. There's so much unprocessed information there that when new information is presented, it is basically adding into this hot pot of information and worry and anxiety, and it's all of these bits of information that haven't been organized. So I see that when I kind of send out a communication and then I get something entirely different presented back to me, which is like this real yearning for clarity and for support, no matter what way it's actually coming across to me. I can see that, or it's coming forward to me. It may be a little bit aggressive or angry or upset or who knows, or confused, but I can see it's a real cry for organization and support and love and connection. So yeah, it does feel a little bit weird to be putting out this information knowing that so many people receiving it may be completely disorganized and actually need that one-to-one support beforehand. So yeah, I so wish for everyone to have that neutral person that they can talk to. If you know me more intimately, you have probably already called me. Otherwise, give me a call and we can chat things through and you can have that neutrality. I'm also, I don't know if you've seen, but I'm always happy to answer things inside the Facebook group as well. So search Functional Spirituality and we'll put up a post about this episode so that you can comment on it and we can have a discussion in the community about it. I'm always very, very generous with my time and I'm very happy to think things through and chat things through over there. Although it can be sometimes difficult through a text, but also is worthwhile. So I'll leave that there from me today. I hope it's been helpful. If you've been really triggered, maybe have a listen again. Process your triggers, have a listen again, see. Like if you're triggered, it's not really about me. It's this beautiful opportunity for you to get more clear so you can be stronger for yourself and those you love. So I hope you take that opportunity and I will speak with you all very soon.